event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, has expressed solidarity with the Lebanese people, stressing that the UN Security Council should make an urgent action to end the Israeli aggression. And more than 70,000 people displaced due to the aggression of the Zionist occupation forces in Lebanon have been registered so far, as spread across 533 shelters. And the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned the UN Security Council that Lebanon is on the brink of an abyss. Those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. Good afternoon. Algeria has called in New York for mobilizing efforts to restore the role of the Security Council and the United Nations, stressing the need to repair the injustice done to Africa, the only continent not to have a permanent seat and the least represented in the category of non-permanent seats. In an address to a high-level open debate held by the Security Council on leadership for peace as part of the agenda item Keeping International Peace and Security, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, said that Algeria was calling for the mobilization and intensification of efforts to restore the Security Councils, in particular, and to the United Nations, the role, proposing 5 key areas on which to build to achieve this goal.
Algeria
called for boosting efforts and strengthening them to adjust the role of the Security Council in particular and the role of the General Assembly in general. It is urgent to go beyond the principle of the polarization and improve the work environment at the UN Security Council. It is imperative to follow up the implementation of the decisions of the UN Security Council and bring to justice the parties which keep challenging these decisions and ignoring the will of the international community. The mandatory nature should remain attached to all the decisions adopted by the Security Council, notably those adopted with regard to the Palestinian cause, and improve coordination between the General Assembly and the UN Security Council. The fourth axis related to the mission and responsibilities of the UN Secretary General. The UN Secretary General should have the full and complete freedom to initiate any diplomatic process in favor of international security and stability. The fifth and last act provides for reforming the UN Security Council by democratizing its working methods and enlarge its membership to be more representative of the international community. What matters to us the most is to fix the historical injustice toward our African continent, as it remains the only absent party in the permanent seats category and the least represented in the non-permanent seats.
That was the statement of Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf. Still with the activities of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, he has held bilateral talks in New York with a number of his counterparts from brotherly and friendly countries on the sidelines of the proceedings of the general debate of the UN General Assembly. Ahmed Attaf held talks with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Emir Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of the Federal Republic of Somalia, Ahmed Mualim Fiki, and the Minister of International Relations of the Republic of Nicaragua, Valdrak Lidwin Janček, and the Minister of Foreign and European Affairs of the Republic of Slovakia and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Estonia. Mr. Ahmed Attaf also expressed solidarity with the Lebanese people, stressing that the UN Security Council should make an urgent action to end the Israeli aggression.
Our hearts go to our sisterly country, Lebanon. We express our solidarity and support to Lebanese people in the face of the current hideous and horrible Israeli aggression, which requires from all of us and from our Security Council a clear and rigorous condemnation, as well as a total rejection of an urgent action to stop it and to bring the aggressors to justice.
He added that the Israeli occupation has always used escalation as a weapon to impose its criminality and power on all neighboring states.
تصعيد الإسرائيلي
The Israeli escalation is part of the escalation policy adopted as an approach by the Israeli colonizing occupation, which uses escalation as a deliberate strategy on several fronts and countries in the region of the Middle East. The genocidal war committed against the Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank is not enough for this occupation. This occupation provokes a crisis after another and tries day after day to impose its criminality and power on all the neighboring states, starting with Syria, then Iran, and now Lebanon.
That was the statement of the Minister of Foreign Affairs Ahmed Attaf in his address to the high-level open debate held by the Security Council. The Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, has called on participants in the 35th extraordinary session of the Executive Committee of the Arab Interparliamentary Union held in Cairo, Egypt, to unite their efforts to meet the complex challenges facing the Arab world. The details with Jamal Salmani.
Recalling the importance of this session, which coincides with the escalation of Zionism, particularly its expansion into Lebanon, a brotherly country, APN Speaker Ibrahim Boughali stressed the importance of examining ways of coordinating to include an urgent item on ending the war in Gaza at the 149th General Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, scheduled to take place from the 13th to the 17th of October in Geneva. In this respect, the APN chairman regretted the committee's inability to adopt the item in question in the past, stressing the need to reflect on the reasons for this and to work towards effective solutions to prevent this from happening again. The close relations between the Asian, African and Latin American parliaments enable them to form the broadest composition within the IPU, he underlined, urging the members of the Executive Committee to formulate concrete proposals to strengthen the IPU's presence on the international scene and mobilize the support of allies and keen consciences across the world in favor of the Palestinian question. On this occasion, Ibrahim Boughali said he was satisfied with the growing international awareness of the justness of the Palestinian question, saying he was optimistic about the UN General Assembly's decision calling for an end to Zionist rule in the Palestinian territories within 12 months, which is, he said, a major step towards achieving justice, peace and stability in the region. At the end of his speech, the APN speaker stressed the importance to use this meeting to strengthen Arab solidarity and ensure a peaceful and just future for all the peoples of the region, welcoming the initiatives of committee members to focus parliamentary efforts on the Palestinian cause.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and more than 70,000 people displaced due to the aggression of the Israeli occupation forces in Lebanon have been registered so far, spread across 533 shelters throughout the country. Lebanese Interior Minister Bassam Maulawi said that the Interior Department and the authorities in Lebanon are seeking to secure the sick and those with reduced mobility among the displaced and to accommodate them in shelters. He added that 13,500 Syrians have left Lebanon for Syria. He stressed that the Interior Ministry will take part in public meetings and maintain permanent contact with the governors to know the needs of the displaced people. Let's recall that on Monday morning, the Israeli occupation launched the most violent, extensive and intensive attack against Lebanon, killing 640 people. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned the UN Security Council that Lebanon is on the brink of an abyss due to the escalation of the Zionist aggression.
Hell is breaking loose in Lebanon. As I told the General Assembly yesterday, we should all be alarmed by the escalation. Lebanon is at the brink. Of course, the Blue Line has seen tensions for years. But since October, exchange of fire have expanded in scope, depth and intensity. Meanwhile, roads are clogged as families desperately seek safety and many are stranded at the Beirut airport. The Ministry of Interior of Lebanon has reported that over 90,000 people have fled southern and eastern Lebanon towards Beirut and the northwest, with 30,000 people in shelters. At least $170 million are needed to respond to growing numbers of displaced and mounting humanitarian needs.
Still in the Middle East, on the 356th day of the Zionist genocidal war against the besieged Gaza Strip, at least 8 civilians, including children and women, were killed and others were injured down in various parts of the Palestinian enclave. Medical sources reported that 5 civilians, including 2 children, were killed and others were wounded in a missile attack that targeted a house owned by Al Matari family east of Khan Yunis city in the southern Gaza Strip. The Zionist occupation army carried out this morning a series of raids on towns and villages in the occupied West Bank, during which it arrested a number of Palestinians and blew up shops, according to media reports. More details with Said Bouazi.
Sources quoted by the media said that a force of the Zionist occupation army stormed the town of Safar, west of Ramallah, attacked Palestinian homes and arrested at least 2 citizens. They pointed out that the Zionist forces stormed the shops and printing works of the Palestinian prisoner Ghanem El-Gham, detained since 17 September, and blew them up, burning them to the ground. The occupation army also stormed the town of El Bire and the center of the West Bank and arrested 2 former prisoners, according to the same sources. In Nablus in the north, several neighborhoods were stormed, houses searched by Zionist forces, who also arrested a woman and 3 young men. The camp of Ain Beit El-Ma, west of Nablus, and several towns in El Khalil were targeted by violent incursions. In parallel with this war in the Gaza Strip since 7th October 2023, the Zionist army has extended its raids into the West Bank, while settlers have intensified their attacks, resulting in the martyrdom of 718 Palestinians, according to the Palestinian authorities. These attacks, carried out by the Zionist entity and its settlers, also injured around 5,750 Palestinians and led to the arrest of more than 10,900 people.
The head of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, Honorable Philippi Lazzarini, has said that children make up half of the total population of Gaza, which has more than 2 million inhabitants, but none have been able to go to school since 7 October, warning of a lost generation. Said Bouazi again.
The longer the fighting goes on, the greater the risk of losing an entire generation, said Philippe Lazzarini in New York, stressing the impact that the constant targeting of schools and civilian infrastructure was having on the people of Gaza as airstrikes continued on a daily basis. He also warned that more than 625,000 deeply traumatized school-aged children are living in the rubble of Gaza. The UN agency said in a statement that in the meantime, many children in the West Bank are exposed to escalating violence that negatively affects their lives and education. UNRWA confirmed that Palestinian children in Gaza and the West Bank have suffered heavy losses since the beginning of the Zionist aggression on Gaza nearly a year ago. The UN agency noted that even before the war began, most families in Gaza were facing great difficulties in providing food for their children. It said 12 months into the war, there has been a noticeable increase in cases of malnutrition, diseases, and related deaths. As the Zionist genocidal war in the Gaza Strip entered its 356th day today, the Zionist army's airstrikes and artillery continue to pound and target various areas, resulting in more martyrs.
2:44 minutes Algiers time. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade of Zimbabwe has said his country is committed to supporting the self-determination of the people of both Palestine and Western Sahara.
My country remains committed to supporting the self-determination of both the people of Palestine and Western Sahara. The time for mere rhetoric has long passed. The international community cannot continue to turn a blind eye or be numb to the systematic injustices and suffering of the Palestinian people. We call upon the Security Council to fulfill its mandate by implementing robust measures that ensure the protection of civilians, the upholding of international law, and the facilitation of a just and lasting peace. Most importantly, we need to continue supporting efforts towards a two-state solution which will help resolve the question of Palestine and the resultant peace and security challenges in the Middle East.
That was the Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Trade of Zimbabwe. The UN chief, Antonio Guterres, has said that in a world where peace is never automatic, leadership is essential on the part of the UN Security Council, which must find better ways to unite in the face of gridlock. Antonio Guterres was addressing a high-level debate in the Security Council on leadership for peace designed to bolster support for the principles of the UN Charter and build on the call for reform contained in the groundbreaking Pact for the Future adopted on Sunday. Let's listen to part of the statement of Mr. Guterres to the participants of the debate.
The topic is rooted in a fundamental truth. Peace is never automatic. Peace demands action, and peace demands leadership. Instead, we are seeing deepening geopolitical divisions and mistrust. Impunity is spreading with repeated violations of international law and the UN Charter. Conflicts are multiplying, becoming more complex and deadlier. All regions are affected, and civilians are paying the steepest price. From Gaza to Ukraine to Sudan and beyond, wars grind on, suffering grows, anger deepens, lives are upended, and legitimacy and effectiveness of the United Nations and this Council are undermined.
Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned that rising sea levels threaten to create a rising tide of misery for millions, with intense storm surges, coastal erosion and coastal flooding increasingly likely. At a summit on the threats posed by sea level rise, he has said that low-lying coastal zones are home to around 900 million people.
Our world is in dangerous waters. Scientists tell us that the global sea level is now rising faster than at any time in the last 3,000 years and accelerating. The rate of increase has more than doubled since the 1990s. They tell us the cause is clear. Greenhouse gases, overwhelmingly from burning fossil fuels, are heating our planet, expanding seawater and melting ice. But they cannot tell us where this will end. That is down to world leaders today. Their choices will determine the scale, pace and impact of future sea level rise. We cannot leave the hopes and aspirations of billions of people dead in the water. We cannot allow the wholesale destruction of countries and communities. It's time to turn the tide and save ourselves from rising seas.
That was UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. And to Sudan now, at least 4 people have been killed as clashes escalated in the capital Khartoum between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF. Fighting between the Rapid Support Forces and the army has killed tens of thousands of people and forced millions from their homes across much of the country. And as the catastrophic humanitarian crisis in Sudan enters its 18th month, the United Nations called for immediate steps to be taken to protect civilians, scale up humanitarian funding and access, and end the fighting once and for all. With over half of the country's population, nearly 26 million people facing high levels of acute hunger, famine has been confirmed in North Darfur's Zamzam camp, with many other areas at risk. Nearly 5 million children and pregnant and breastfeeding women are acutely malnourished. You still listen to Radio Algeria International, 2:49 minutes Algeria's time, and back to national news. The King of Denmark has congratulated the President of the Republic, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, for his re-election for a second term. And he also said, "Accept, Mr. President, my warmest congratulations." The President of the Democratic Republic of the Congo and also the President of the Republic of Romania have sent a message of congratulations to the President of the Republic, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, on the occasion of his re-election for a second term of office. A conference on the theme of edification, the state institutions of independent Algeria, the National Assembly as a model, was organized yesterday in Algiers to mark the 60th anniversary of the election of the first National Assembly. During the conference organized by the Forum of the newspaper Al Mujahid in coordination with the Mash'al al-Shahid Association, the participants harked back to the political circumstances surrounding the election of Algeria's first National Assembly, highlighting the achievements of its late president, the Mujahid Haj bin Allah, and his contribution to bringing together the national forces. A parliamentary delegation from the Council of the Nation is to take part in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, in the 11th consultative meeting of the League of Senates, Consultative Councils and Similar Councils of Africa and the Arab World on 26 and 27 September. The delegation will be led by the Deputy Chairman of the Council of the Nation, representing the Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Salah Goujil. The meeting will focus on strengthening joint parliamentary action by the countries of the South to meet development and environmental challenges, through 3 sessions devoted to examining and debating a number of issues, including inter-regional partnerships and initiatives, opportunities for integration and development, the countries of the South and artificial intelligence, challenges and opportunities, and strengthening and promoting means of combating desertification and soil erosion. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, 2:52 minutes Algiers time. That's it for our news bulletin. I invite you now to listen to our health magazine compiled and presented by Mohammed Khatal.